All right, man. First of all, shout out the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, I want to celebrate them and Anthony Edwards in a whole nother detailed video. That was an amazing comeback in Game 7. I believe the largest comeback in Game 7 history. An amazing series. And I tweeted this last night. Parity in the NBA is definitely back. But this video is about something that really irks me. And I talked about it before. When a player is literally hyped up, whether it be justified or not, normally it is, and what happens directly after they fail, quote unquote. It's like this inevitable hate train that makes, to me, zero sense, and almost where we try to tear down a legacy someone created simply because there's more chapters to their story/career. Most of the new modern stars, they're going to go through it times 10 because now it's social media now, and that's just what comes with it. But even some of the older generation, they went through it as well. Kobe, for instance, he obviously got compared heavily to Michael Jordan, even as a rookie. And when he lost in the finals, or when his resume didn't exactly mirror the perfection that Jordan, quote unquote, had, it's like, oh, we knew he wasn't Jordan. He's a fraud. LeBron James, he's the clearest example and probably the biggest example that you'll know because of sports television and a man named Skip Bayless. Every time this man lost in the NBA Finals, even if the situation screamed, he was literally supposed to lose in that scenario, being without his two best players in the finals, playing the greatest team ever assembled. Sports media immediately raced the next day to tell you why he's not the golden standard to being the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, when in fact, no, his career is just different. The obstacles are clearly different. Well, now, to me, LeBron has kind of had that effect on the sport. And man, I must be really getting old because now his career is starting to become the standard for the new modern superstars. Nikola Jokic, he obviously just won his third MVP. And that's going to come with a lot of criticism and a lot of close scrutiny for the smallest things. Shaq. We know Shaq is the biggest hater legend there is. Like, he simply is. He seemed happy as hell to point out how dominant Minnesota was early in that series when it looked like they were damn near going to sweep Denver. We know Shaq, he's the most insecure superstar ever. We know that. Nick Wright, who I actually love, I watch their show all the time. He came back out the closet when that series was tilting on their head and it looked like Denver was damn near going to get swept as an undercover Jokic skeptic. Tweets like this, tweets that I thought literally was put to rest after Jokic had one of the greatest championship runs you're ever going to see last year. But tweets like this even resurfaced without context. When Jokic was down 2-0 against Minnesota, I remember seeing this tweet and the narrative beginning to build. Oh, you know Jokic, he's never even beat a 50-win team before. He's a fraud. When in fact, in 2020, not only were the Clippers on pace to win 50 wins, they were actually the predominant favorites and he beat them. So what are we talking about? Then I seen this tweet. Oh, you know, in the Denver Nuggets era, Nikola Jokic is 8-0 against teams 4th seed or lower and 1-5 versus teams 3rd seed or higher. Okay, well, let's add the context. 2 of those series in which he lost was against Phoenix and Golden State. Mind you, they won the finals. And in both of those series, he either had no Jamal Murray, no MPJ, or both. So again, add the context. What are we even talking about? One thing that's fair, Nikola Jokic does now have the 2 biggest Game 7 blown leads in NBA history. He is a 3-time MVP, so he does deserve some criticism, but just don't rewrite history or not add context. And what I think LeBron did in his career to now hurt the basketball discourse is he made making the finals every year seem easy or to be expected or now to be the standard for anybody claimed as the new guy. Golden State to a certain extent as well, but Golden State is more so known as a machine. LeBron kind of got the one-man army tag and he got the notoriety for it. I don't know if you realize, because we kind of say this passingly, but it's actually factually a real thing. The NBA has more parity right now than it's ever had in the modern era, like ever. It's not even close. We not only have different champions for what's now going on 6 consecutive years. I looked it up. It hasn't been that way since the 70s, pre-Magic and Bird. But we're also about to have different teams in the finals for 6 straight years. We haven't even had a team make the finals for 2 straight years since Golden State. That is the definition of parity, really unprecedented parity, because we haven't really seen it quite like this. That just shows how shaken up the league has really been. I heard Mike Malone say this after defeat last night, and really it made me appreciate how insane LeBron really is.
But when you look at the fact that all the teams that are still playing, we played into June last year, a lot of basketball. And I think the run last season and coming back and, the amount of minutes that our starters had to play, I think mentally, emotionally, physically, I think guys are gassed.
I don't even care how many he lost. This dude made 8 straight NBA finals. 8. Do you understand how mentally and physically taxing that is for a player? Not just a player, but the dude that's actually carrying the load. Just for context, mind you, he won 2 MVPs in that span as well. But from 2011 to 2018, I want you to really understand how crazy his mind and body had to be in that span in which he made 8 straight finals. You know who led the league in regular season minutes in that span? It was also LeBron. Obviously, he led the playoffs in minutes in that span, but look at exactly how much he led. He played 2,000 more playoff minutes than the second best Kevin Durant and damn near 7,000 playoff minutes in that span. Prime LeBron in the regular season, he averaged a little over 3,000 minutes a year. So basically that 8-year stretch for Bron was 2 additional 80-ish LeBron James seasons on that man's legs. 2 more than the rest of the entire NBA. Not to mention the playoff intensity, the game 6s, the game 7s, and he's LeBron, so it comes with the mental toll of coming up short, even against way superior teams. That's a lot. So now, with this error, I remember I made a video just like this in 2020 when, ironically enough, the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead to Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Everyone raced to call Kawhi a fraud and basically pointed out how he's not LeBron. Right before the season, when he paired with Paul George, he was the king of the league, the king of LA, and pretty much the predominant best player in the league by most. And after he lost, it was all gone. It wasn't quite as harsh as Kawhi's was for Giannis because Giannis did have injuries to blame, but the same thing happened to him. When he doesn't get right back to the finals after he just won it, it's like he inevitably gets discredited for what he did accomplish just because I guess he didn't retire after he won a championship, when in fact, bro, it's hard to get back. Now, Nikola Jokic, all day on TV, you're probably going to be watching Nikola Jokic with the most disgusting narratives ever, simply because he lost to a good team and probably the next face of the NBA. Tim Duncan, he's the perfect player to use because, one, he gets compared to Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is the modern Tim Duncan, and his career mirrors exactly what I'm talking about. Tim Duncan, we know, he's easily a top 6, top 8-ish player ever, however you rank it. To me, his resume is insane when you really look at it. And we know he never won back-to-back championships. But I want you to look at directly the seasons after he won championships and what really happened. And I'm sorry I even have to do this, Timmy, but I gotta make this point real quick because people have lost their minds on Nikola Jokic. Tim Duncan in 04, fresh off a back-to-back MVP campaign and an NBA championship. 2-time MVP, 2-time NBA champion. Second round against the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. The last year Shaq and Kobe played together where they made the finals and we thought, how did they even make it to the finals going through all that year? The Spurs, they actually went up 2-0 in that series and they absolutely collapsed in the last 4. In those last 4 games, those last 4 losses, the back-to-back MVP shot 23 for 60. That's 38%. And he averaged 4 turnovers a night. Was he a fraud or did he just lose? And it happens. The year after they won in 05, the Spurs, they had their best season of their franchise's history up to that point. Won 63 games, had the first seed, all that. And they actually played Dallas, the team that made the finals that year. Dirk Nowitzki, a crazy matchup between him and Tim Duncan. It went 7 games, just like this series versus Minnesota. And in game 7, Tim Duncan had a great game, but it went overtime. And Tim Duncan went 1 for 7 in overtime. Is he a fraud? No, he literally just lost, and it happens. In 08, after he won his 4th championship, they met the Lakers in the conference finals and the game was tied 2 games apiece and they lost the last 2 games. In the last 2 games, Tim Duncan went 17 for 45. Was he a fraud? No. Denver played 32 playoff games since last year. That's more than anyone else. Nikola Jokic, off of that playoff run, played 79 games this year. This is not an excuse, but bro, please stop with the fraud narratives. What LeBron did in the 2010s, bro, that's not normal. What Jordan did in the 90s, that's not normal. If the legends of today, if they don't exactly mirror that, bro, they're not frauds. Jokic literally led his team in everything in the playoffs. Minutes, points, rebounds, assists, steals, everything. Him losing definitely does not take away from the greatness. He's not a fraud MVP. He doesn't have a fraud resume, none of that. Let's just appreciate what Ant and Minnesota did And let's stop with that, please. If you guys like this video, please like this video. I've been seeing these narratives floating on Twitter, even when he was down 2-0, and people racing to go back to that narrative. And I never understand that. Like, can we just appreciate the best big of our era, please? Like, I don't get that. Follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.